Hey guys, what is up? Public here, back with another video, and today I'm actually going to do something I haven't done in a while, but I know a lot of you guys have asked about. So we're going to kind of kick off a series where I'm just going to kind of review my kill of the Mythic bosses kind of as they come in, assuming I don't make any massive mistakes and things like that. So today we're going to go over Mythic Vexie. This is the first boss in Mythic. If you guys like this, I'll hopefully try to do this as my guild ends up killing these bosses in Mythic. Maybe the first or second kill, ideally, if I get time. And then hopefully we'll try to do the same thing with like Mythic Plus dungeons as well. With the idea being, I'm not going to necessarily show you how to like top parse, but I really like from a progression mindset, like what are the things you should be doing and looking for and how to play this fight. So I'll kind of just play out this kill. If you haven't seen, I actually have a VOD channel where I upload as much of our kills as I can when I remember to record them. That's linked in the other channel below. You can check that out. So for Mythic Vexie, first boss here, there's really not a whole lot that changes for us as a Shadow Priest. We're pretty much just here to blast the boss, and we get to cleave the ads kind of for free here. So that isn't really changed. I'll kind of pause it here before the ads actually come in to talk about talents. So on this, I ran the Void Weaver single target build that includes Shadow Crash. Shadow Crash is actually kind of optional here. You could drop it if you want, but I think it makes it easier job to dot ads in this phase, but also the intermission. You might see people that drop it and do well with it, but you'll have to be a little bit more proactive with when you can actually dot things, and depending on how much pad you want to do in the intermission. So you could play Archon here, but Void Weaver in that kind of 45-second burn window does more damage, generally speaking, especially if you get that second rift off. It times out really well for Void Weaver right now. I think when I was testing, it was like 7 or 8% ahead of Archon in just that 45-second window with full cooldowns and everything. So yeah, I think you'll expect to see a lot of Void Weaver here. So on this fight, you really want to pay attention when these ads are coming, and you can see that the raid is trying to bait these towards the boss. This actually makes it really easy for us because then we just know where they're going to be and dot them. Because of the timings on this fight, I generally don't dot them until they've moved to the raid. There are some times when they are in range, depending on where they spawn, but I'll typically wait until after they've charged over here. You have a couple strategies of how to dot these guys. Generally speaking, with what I found, you'll get lucky in the sense that 2 will usually be grouped up, which is great for Shadow Crash. So you can see I threw Shadow Crash over there to dot those 2. They also show up in raid frames, which is really nice, so you can kind of get them ahead of time. The other thing that you can do is utilize Unfurling Darkness here. So you can see I Shadow Crashed these 2, and then I already pre-cast. I'm starting my Vampiric Touch cast for this guy. And then generally speaking at that point, I go right back to the boss. You can see here I actually Void Torrented it without Devouring Plague just because I knew I had to get it on cooldown. So not the greatest move there. Ideally, Devouring Plague was already active. But for the most part, like we're here to, and the ads just absolutely got obliterated. This is the first ad set. Everyone's got everything. We generally just want to dot them and then go back to the boss. This is a fight where, yes, the ads are a priority. But as Void Weaver, especially with Distorted Reality, we don't have the best time target swapping. And generally speaking, Psychic Link is enough here. So at that point, I'm just kind of chilling. Now, you do have to be careful. You want to make sure you soak these. You can see I actually soaked but didn't get the debuff because only one person does. And then you're locked out from it. So you kind of want to have a nice little spread here. I generally speaking, our raid let the melee do these bikes, so I wasn't handling that mechanic, and I was just blasting the boss as much as possible. And here it's kind of just a single target phase. Now, this is where you want to start thinking about cooldown management. You notice that I actually used everything on pull of this fight. And there's a couple strategies here depending on what your guild decides to do. My fight timer's down here. You can see it's been about a minute. Dark Ascension is going to come back here in a second. Power Infusion still has a minute left. So on normal and heroic, generally speaking, you don't want to use 2 minutes on pull because the first burn is going to be like between a minute and a minute 30 in. On Mythic, it's usually like a minute 45 to 2 minutes. You could actually hold to line it up perfectly, but most guilds will probably just end up full sending. Because of that, you can kind of make the choice depending on how good your guild might be with these ads. The slower you are with ads, basically, the closer it's going to be to that higher mark here. So I went ahead and sent Dark Ascension again, just to get full use out of the cooldowns. I pretty much was able to full send the entire fight here. As long as you get at least one full use to your cooldowns in the burn phase, that's what you want. Obviously, you could get better here, but I also got the fire here. It's really important. There seems to be kind of a weird bug with queuing or something where fire isn't going out as often as it should. So if you do get it, make sure you have a clear plan of what you're going to be clearing with it. At this point, I ended up on the other side of the boss and just didn't bother moving. You can see I unfortunately single dotted the one that was next to the Shadow Crash target. Nothing you can do there. Just try to get things in early. And again, dot the ads, go right back to the boss. Don't worry about it. And you can see I moved back to my spot I was in before just to make sure we had coverage in the room. That one, I don't think I actually ended up getting soaked. So yeah, there was a little bit of issue there with our soaking. This is our first kill. Definitely pretty sloppy on us. But we did hit the phase. So we hit the phase at 158. This was not as late as it could have been, but pretty late. Most guilds, I think, when you're doing this on farm, will probably get it a little sooner. But this timing is really great for us because at this point, our 2 minutes are coming up. Everything's going to be good to go. Now, very important on this fight, these ads that come in, the pit mechanics. So there's kind of two philosophies here. This is kind of pad damage. But for us, we get a lot of damage on pit mechanics because of the way Psychic Link works. The boss is taking double damage. So that means the base hit of Psychic Link is very big. So when it hits these ads, it's going to hit really hard if you're cleaving off the boss. So this is where Shadow Crash comes in handy. If you're not inside of cooldowns, you can also manually dot here. So the timing worked out here for me in that I don't have cooldowns yet, so I was able to go ahead and dot some of these before I went ahead and got into my cooldowns. Don't worry too much about having all of them dotted. It is important to keep them CC'd and or kill them quickly. If this repair cast gets off, the phase takes less time. So the boss has a less time in that damage jam. So it is kind of important to CC them because of that and kill them. But generally speaking, I'm not like, you don't want to waste too much time just dotting because then you're not actually doing any damage. And this is where Shadow Crash comes in handy because that's an easy global to just send in your cooldowns without sacrificing too much of your damage. So you can definitely do that. You see, actually, I ended up missing one of the ads there, which is okay. They were getting kind of gripped around. But at this point, you're just trying to full send here. And from a timing perspective, it worked out pretty well for me on this pull. You do want to be careful, though, as you go into future phases. There's a little bit of decision making with like where you send your cooldowns, where you send your potion. I decided to send mine on pull to try to game getting the execute one off. Not that big of a deal. It's just that your execute uptime isn't going to be the best here. You're only going to proc Twist of Fate on the pit mechanics. But you could definitely hold, I think in farm kills, you'll probably hold the potion for the first burn phase with Lust, because I don't think you're going to get two once you guys get enough gear. And at this point, you're just kind of sending. You can see here, I barely missed that second Void Entropic Rift there, so not the best timing-wise for me. Would have ideally liked to get both of those. That's okay. It's just kind of one of those things that happens with this fight. Would Archon have done better there? Probably not. I think Void Reverse just like, 5-6% ahead in just base single target. So still worked out okay. And this is for the most part the fight. So it's just going to keep repeating itself. You just want to kind of be careful, use the room to your advantage, try not to get out of position, get ready to soak if you can, and really just kind of pay attention to where the ads are coming in, dot them when you can, go back to the boss. It is going to be very normal, I think, if we kind of skip ahead here. Let's find... Okay, so we're about to phase again. We have to kill these ads and get one in. So you can see here, it's 4:30 into the fight. So at this point, I think I've held Power Infusion for 10 seconds or so, 20 seconds. Yeah, quite a bit. So Power Infusion, everything else comes back around 4:10, 4:15. And you see we still have two chargers here. So this isn't ideal. We were a little slower on this one. Obviously, with the overlap, this will happen. But at this point, I choose to hold my cooldowns because I don't think we're going to get... probably going to get one more burn phase was my logic here. And getting that damage for burn phase is really important. Now, during this, if you can time it correctly, you can send the Void Torrent here just because it's just 30 seconds. But I knew it was going to come quick, so I went ahead and held everything. I was still using Spy Masters here, so we're going to send this. Again, not full execute because the boss is not in that range yet. But we're going to get, hopefully, enough good uptime from these ads to kind of make this worth. And unfortunately, my potion was off as well. So not the best timing for me. There's definitely something to improve on in future kills. I thought this would work out, but it turns out it didn't. I will still get the second use of the potion. It just won't be with the full burn phase, which is fine. And you can see here, now that I'm out of cooldowns, I can spend a bit more time dotting before I go back into the boss. and you see everything is just kind of getting melted. We do have Permanent Twist to Fate now, which is good. At this point, I do send my second potion as soon as I can. I get 10 seconds of this weaken phase. It's not ideal, but, you know, that's just what I chose to do. I think in hindsight, I probably would have just saved this for getting at least Dark Ascension back, even though it'll just be inside of a normal phase. We didn't do the best job with the burn here. You can see our repair tracking here. We added +5 here, so it ended sooner than it should have. First kill, you know, things happen. But that's pretty much this fight, guys. You want to be a little careful if you end up playing Archon. The one thing I'll point out before I close out the video, there are these extra adds in Mythic. You can see that we're CCing them out here. Be very careful with them. They are triggered and they're treated, as if you are in combat with them. This is really important because if you end up playing Archon, or for whatever reason, if you're pressing a Halo during intermission, Halo will hit them and potentially break that crowd control. So be very careful with your positioning because of that. If you are an Archon priest and you're sending Halo during this section, stand at the wall. Because if you break that, it's going to be a really sad time. But again, I think I would definitely suggest playing Void Reaver here. So yeah, you're kind of just full sending here, full burning. I think, you know, I don't know if we got one more phase here. I think it like barely died after so we get this last phase. It's at 10%. I think on our rekill, we killed it before this had even happened on week 2. So yeah, definitely like a fight that's going to get like much faster with gear. So plan out that for sure. But that's my first Vexie kill and kind of a little guide on how to prog this as a Shadow Priest. Hopefully this was helpful. We'll see you in the next one.